our second speaker, Professor Goran Gabrilo, who comes from Croatia. He is associate professor and vice dean for business and faculty of kinesiology at University of Split, Croatia. He holds bachelor and master degree in physical education and PhD in sports science. He is also first VAR football referee in Croatia and former football referee with more than 30 Champions League and Europa League matches. He is working as fitness coach in football, specialized in fitness and health status of football referees. He is author and co-author of several scientific papers about fitness and the medical status of football referees. Currently, he is developing a new test with a video tool for assessing reactive agility in assistant football referees. I am pretty sure, Goran, that your topic would be very interesting, not only for all football fans and professionals, but also other sport professionals. When you are ready, you can start, share your presentation with us, and you can start.
Okay. First of all, good day to you all. And maybe to start with a connection with previous presenter, because you said referees are not maybe the people who fans love, but so we find connection with previous lecture with that animal, because often referees are called horses. But thanks to Professor Selçuk, now I find that this is something really, really good. So this topic today is going to be about referees and other inside part of the referee, and something that me as a referee can share with you. And just a second, because here it is. And about referees' team during the football matches and preparation for it, and everything around it. So when we talk about football, we heard so many nice stories, but we all know that it's the most popular game in the world. And apart from that, not only the most popular game in the world, but it's also sport as the largest business with the largest amount of money flowing around that sport. So it's very, very popular. Every year increase of players is 12 to 21% a year, depending on which year, because, you know, well, if World Cup happens, there is always bigger interest in children, in parents, in everybody. So it's something that depends on the advertising, as we heard before. So there are also sub-activities. So even making football more popular, such as football, beach soccer, cage ball, and other recreational sub-activities of football, making this game even larger than it really is. But all of these games, even futsal, even beach soccer, and of course football, more than 150 years can't be held without referees. So unfortunately, referees are mandatory part of every football game. So there is no football game without a referee. When you talk about modern refereeing, it's close to 1 million registered referees in the world. And we always say referee, but it's really a team. Referee, he is the one in charge. He is the boss. He is the one who is responsible for all difficult, wrong, and controversial decisions, because you will never heard about some assistant. They will always talk about the decision from a referee. But as we already mentioned, referee has his assistants. Here in the role of the assistant, you can see the importance of referee, and also why is it important to be a leader, because assistant is really assisting. So he's showing an offside, showing throw in or a corner kick, but the referee is taking decision. This is something that you won't see at a high level football like Champions League, but definitely this is something that you will see lower levels where assistant raises his flag and referee don't allow that decision and let's play continue. So referee is the one taking the final decision, and he is the boss. There is also one person helping him on the side, and that's sport official. He is for administrative stuff, for technical stuff, for benches, and helping him with additional time, substitutions, and similar stuff. Refereeing is going along with football. So scientific approach to football is also followed by scientific approach to refereeing. After so many researchers, they saw that game is getting faster. There are many situations inside of penalty area. So in 2009, they implemented a new system, additional assistant referees. They were helping referee for critical situation inside of penalty area, because that situation can change the match, but also it can change the news and headlines inside of the newspapers tomorrow. So, but nowadays the football is even faster, the money is even bigger, so VAR system, video technology is implemented in football, and with video assistant referee and the team inside of the box, then additional assistants are left out. When we talk about modern football, distance covered by players are around 10 to 13 kilometers. If you look throughout history and researches, in 80s there were around 7 to 8 kilometers, in 90s going up to 10 kilometers, in 2000s going to this distance. So they were growing slowly, I might say. From 2010-11, today it's steady distance covered by players, so around 10 to 13 kilometers is somehow approximately regular distance that is covered by one player. But it's not the same by positions, so there are position diversity. So midfielders are the ones with larger amount of distance covered, while goalkeepers obviously are with least. But I think even more important than just pure distance covered is the running diversity, or type of running, or I would say physical output. This is something that has been changed. I already mentioned that from 2010 until today, the distance covered is somewhere around 10 to 13 kilometers, is the same, even decreasing last few years, but high intensity running and sprints are going high. So change of type of running is happening now in football. When we talk about referees, they try to develop as a football is developing. So distance covered by referees was up to 2000s were less than 8 kilometers. Nowadays there is 10.5 to 12.5 kilometers. Also, they are a little bit always coming after the players, so maybe in 2 years later they implement this distance. So in 2012 they get their peak performance regarding distance covered. But also there is diversity, referees and assistants, where referees are running much more, even 40% more than assistant, but that it's obvious because referees are covering whole field of play, while assistant is covering only the half. And it's totally different. They are in charge of different situations. So assistant is for offside and little help for corner kick and throw in, and referee has much more situations to manage. But like in football, last few years, running diversity has changed. So type of running or physical output of the referees has changed, and the sprinting and high intensity, you can see the similar numbers, it's going up. So it's not just running and covering the distance, but intensity and type of running is important, but I will show you that not only that, but smart running is really important for a referee. Probably for attacker also, and the midfielder, not just running, but to run on the right place at the right time is much more important. So We will try to compare referees and assistant referee, even though it's not totally comparable because assistants are like sprinters, where you can see here that they are sprinting even more than referees, and sideway running is the most important running for assistant referee, and that's obvious because they need to face the field of play all the time. If they're running on the side, they need to watch in front of them, not on the side. So this is the main difference, while referees are using all types of running, jogging, low intensity, medium intensity, and high intensity sprinting. And also a little bit of backward running to have full control of the football field. But I would say this is maybe the figure that shows why it's important to run smartly. Because here you can see distance from foul of play or incident and number of incidents. So, and also mistakes, sorry. So percentage of mistakes decreases to distance of 10 to 15 meters. And then afterwards strongly or highly increases when the distance to incident or tackle is 20 or more meters. You can see that referees, this is research with elite referees are already using the smart running and smart refereeing, and in most of the situations, 87, 75, and 57, they are from 5 to 20 meters. This situation, 9 situations where you have 11% of possible mistake is less than 5 meters. This is something like reading a book. If you put it too close to your face, you probably won't be able to read all of the letters. So here you can have wider picture and better situation. One more thing why physical fitness is very, very important. You can see here possible mistakes and percentage of mistakes made by referees regarding the match period. So we can see the biggest amount of mistakes is in last third of second half. So it's 23. But you can see also that the largest amount of incidents is happening in last 15 minutes of first and second half, especially second half. This is somewhat obvious because here you have tactical, still tactical, I would say. They are thinking really tactical and they are not falling apart. And here you have to change tactics and everything if you are losing or you don't have right result. So looking at this, you can see why it's so important to have good fitness and be well prepared for the last 15 minutes. When we talk about first and second half and looking through a history of refereeing, if you go closer back to last few years, the differences between first and second half are minor. So they really don't have large difference in terms of running between first and second half. In 2000 and even earlier, there was much more distance covered in first half than in second half. So these are the two things that are making the physical preparation really important. So distance to the ball and incident, and also last 15 minutes have been showed as really crucial for big number of incidents and possible mistakes. When we talk about assistant referees, their main decision is offside. Here, I will just try to demonstrate you the angle of view of assistant referee. Why is it so important? If you look from here, you can't see regularly the line that goes over here. So angle of view is here 0, and here is close to 90 degrees towards last defender. Short explanation just to see how angle of view is affecting mistakes, and also to see how elite assistant referees cope with angle of view. So we look here, they are in, I would say, best angle of view in most of the situation, but if something happens and they are out of line of view, like picture before, the increase of mistake is really getting higher. So angle of view is the most important thing for assistant referee, and that's why it's so important to move sideways. So also we have to think that training sessions should be sideways. Looking at decisions and part of the game or time of the game, you can see also that in last period there are many situations, but also larger amount of mistakes. So last 30 minutes, or I would say second half, always have more mistakes, unfortunately, than first half. This is something that definitely we need to work on and definitely need to improve. When we talk about aging in refereeing is really specific. So in aging, total distance of referee decreases. So it goes down. Referees run less with aging. Also, distance to situations is getting larger. So they are further from the incident and that situation. But something really interesting is that the number of correct decisions increases. This is somewhat really interesting because this is the most important thing in football. And this is why referees need to be exact and put the right decisions. Because wrong decisions are making problems in football, wrong decisions are making clubs losing money. So here you need to find a balance, because experience and coping with stress are the two factors that are more important than just pure physical fitness. So this is something that FIFA, UEFA, and national FAs are really trying to improve, and also they are trying to improve physical fitness, but coping with stress and is something new implemented in refereeing. When we talk about fitness tests and testing of physical fitness of the referees in modern football, referees started with modern test, Cooper test, then changed to interval test. These are all from older to newer tests, variations of tests that are helping keep referees really in high level of fitness. And you can see they are changing towards the game. So nowadays we have modification of your test. You can see it here, where running is much more like similar to running of the referee than simple test. And we have some SDS test stop. We have test with a little bit larger rests than yo-yo. So it's even more close to the game of the referee. When we talk about assistants, in their test you will see agility. Agility is very important because they move sideways, as I already said, and change of direction is very important. We are trying to put a new test protocol, as you already mentioned, where assistants are going to be assessed by their natural movement on the field. So here you can see a change of direction, agility is tested, and also the speed in first 5 and 10 meters. So the tests are going towards the game of the game. So they are going to be closer to natural movement of the referee and the assistant referee. Training and monitoring of the referees is something that has been implemented relatively new. They've been training and monitoring referees from 2000 with polar watches, but the applications started maybe 4 or 5 years ago. From my own experience working as a fitness coach for referees and also being a referee, this improved training loads and regularity of training, I would say more than 50 or 60%. I would say that 50% of referees were using playing futsal or playing football, playing basketball or some similar activities as a training sessions in favor of pure running or cycling activities. But this changed because UEFA made a platform that, like a big brother, is monitoring your activities. You have medical testing, training and game performance and everything. Every referee has his polar watch. Automatically after the training session uploads to this platform, and you can see analysis from heart rate, GPS data, and other data. Also, if you are not training regularly, these are 5 variables, and if you're not training regularly, they will turn orange, or if you're not, this is good, but if you're not training regularly, it will turn to red automatically. So the administrator or head coach can only watch this and be sure that everybody is working fine. If something turns to red, administrator gets immediate mail with information that Goran Gabrilo, for example, is not working regularly, he is not training in high intensity, so we need to change something. And then this is like alarm getting on. The really important thing in improving, I would say, continuity of training and refereeing is injuries. This is the subject that we might say in Croatia we are really proud of, that we are almost pioneers, because Professor and Dr. Bizzini started this with FIFA referees in charge of medical stuff and medical problems with referees in FIFA World Cup. He started with injuries, and we are pioneers definitely in Croatia. And we had big researches with almost all of the regional and national and international referees regarding injuries. So here you can see what are the most common injuries in last match, last year, and during fitness tests. We are going to just shortly explain that injuries in thigh or upper leg is the most common in fitness tests, because fitness test has sprints, and so it's normal that happens. Lower leg and Achilles tendon and also lower back, the injuries happening last year, most commonly, because I would say this is normal, because these all are chronic, not acute injuries, so you can see it happening most often in last year. When we look at the type of injury, we might see that muscle strain is the most common, especially in fitness tests, and also tendon strain, tendinitis, and muscle strains are the most common injuries in last year and last match. This is something that I think we can implement in all sports, in all activities. Self-treatment after injuries. In international level, there are no self-treatments. So they use proper medical treatment with professionals, with physios, and so they are doing it absolutely every one of them after injury. As the league goes down, the percentage goes up. I would say this is also logical, because the league goes down, the money and the wages go down for the referees, so it's normal that they use self-treatment, because it's really, really expensive to have proper medical treatment with professionals. Also, with looking at the table before, you will see that full recovery is much faster with proper medical treatment compared to self-treatment in lower legs. This is also something that is, I would say, comparable with this before, because high-level referees compared to low-level training level, they have lower amount of injuries, or lower number of injuries. So injuries increase as the level of training goes down. So this is something that is already known from the literature and is not any different with referees. When we compare subjects inside of refereeing, like referees and assistants, you will see that number of injuries is the same. For me, that was a little bit surprising, but looking inside of it, you can see that type of injury for referees in yellow is much more different than assistants. So they have shoulder injuries and assistant referees because of the flag, and referees don't have it. They have referees have much more problems with Achilles tendon. That's also close to long runners or medium runners, for example, than sprinters. Sprinters have thigh and also they have a problem with knee because of lots of change of direction. So when you look at the table before, you would say they have the same injuries, but they only have the same amount of injuries, but the different injuries are really different. So this gives us a clue that also the treatment, but also prevalence of injuries should be conducted in different ways. Controlled and non-controlled training, somehow we would say they are close by numbers. So controlled training, we were in this group, there were referees, they made cyclic activities like running or cycling or Nordic walking or something like that, while non-controlled group was conducting activities which lots of change of direction, like playing football, playing basketball or similar. But same amount of injuries, but recovery is different. Referees who were practicing non-controlled training, they needed more days to fully recover from injury than controlled training. Non-controlled training were more severe injuries. We have tear of ACL in even one situation or one subject. It happened during non-controlled training playing futsal. So this is like an alarm for referees to do not use non-controlled training. Try to be in controlled training as much as you can, even though sometimes can be boring. When we talk about age versus injuries, it is slowly increasing throughout the years. Biggest increase is in first 5 years of refereeing, and then after 35 it just slowly increase. So this is something that we might say it's acceptable. But these first 5 years don't have anything with muscle growth or anything with muscle maturation or ligament maturation. This is something that is really, I would say, important is the type of games refereed with 25 years and 20 or less. In these subjects with less than 20 years, they are refereeing youth leagues with lower amount of intensity, with lower amount of tackles and everything. So these games are not that difficult and not that, I would say, energy consuming like this after you start the senior football. And now, at the end, people are talking about VAR changing the football. Is it really changing the football? We can see in next and the only investigation and research done in VAR technology in football. VAR is video assistant referee with his team trying to help referees in crucial decisions, only crucial decisions. And there is only one investigation regarding VAR and no VAR. So this is from Bundesliga and Serie A. We can see that red cards decreased with implementation of VAR in both leagues. Penalty in Serie A decreased. I don't know, maybe there's something with mentality of Italian players, but now knowing that there is VAR, they are not simulating that much. But in Germany, you will see that it is increased. Penalties increased, but in Italy decreased. So this is something that is, I would say, close to temperament of players and type of football. Goals, depending on the league. Offside, this is something that really is, I would say, much improvement, because referees are not waving offside anymore, assistants, and in like a result there is less offside, so probably more goals. Foul, yellow cards, all decreased because of the yellow cards. Active playing time increased, but total playing time increased, but also active playing time decreased. So, as a conclusion, is VAR changing football or not? I would say it is changing the football, but just making it more fair, not changing football in general way and as the game as it is. In conclusion, I would say that referees' development is following the development of football, but also development of football is following development of laws of the game, like VAR. So football is changing as VAR is implemented. We find that fitness status is very important, because it prevents injuries, it helps making right decisions, it makes being close to the situations, and definitely controlled training is much more better than non-controlled training. For this injury prevention program, so research with injury helped us make injury prevention program that prevails injury and make referees more available for future matches. That is, consistency is very important in refereeing, like in playing football. And at the end, we might say VAR is not changing football, only making it fair, making it better. People are saying that footballers and referees don't get along. With this picture, I beg you differently. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor Gabrilo. I would ask audience to give contribution and ask the questions. We have one question from Professor Selçuk.
Hi, Professor Gabrilo. It was very interesting. It was very interesting presentation. It was funny. The start was funny. The end was also funny. You know.
Thank you.
I guess everybody just like very attentionally watched and listened to your presentation. It was pretty good. So first, please do not take it. Just take it normal. Being a horse in our culture is pretty good thing, because horses are strong, social, and sensitive animals. So I would say that in our culture, being a horse is pretty good thing. The first thing, and the thing is please do not ask my age, but 24 years ago I used to be a football referee. Yes, it was 24 years ago. So I had an experience as a football referee for 4 years. Then I quit. Please do not ask why I quit.
I won't.
Please don't. But the thing is, it's very interesting topic, as you pointed out in your presentation many times. Of course, I mean, the referees has many effects on the game. The decision is very important, both the tactical aspect and also motivational aspects of both players and the trainers. My question is going to be, of course, you showed us some graphs, which is related to the fitness parameters, like the running distance and the decision making. Very good, I guess. I was going to ask you, in FIFA or in Croatia, for instance, is there any requirement, educational requirement to be a referee? Okay, so here in Turkey, for instance, as far as I know right now, if you are just like graduated from high school, it's okay, you know. But I don't know this situation, FIFA regulation or other countries' regulation. I think this is pretty important because if somebody cannot make a decision by him or herself, how he is going to make it a decision during the game situation, you know? And the main reason to be a referee in the game just to make decisions, you know? That's it. So, and the thing is, like, as far as I know from some articles, after some time, you know, running distance, when your running distance increase, your decision is getting worse, which affects your cognitive level, of course, and your decision, you are starting to give, like, you know, wrong decisions. So in terms of this, how, like, you know, how you will ask or how you will manage to train the referees in this way, because when the game is tied and you have a final decision, you know, final game or like a semi-final game, let's say, so you have additional time, 30 minutes more time. Okay, both the players and also referee will get more tired, and under this tiredness, your decision will be worse. So what do you think about these issues, Professor Gabrilo?
Oh, thank you for your question, and thank you for your really nice observations. I will start from the end and going back to the beginning. So regarding questions, regarding education, I might say it's not obligatory. So there is no written law saying that you need to have faculty, university, or higher education, but this is something that is recommendable. So, for example, when committee is deciding about the referees who is going to go and to be promoted to upper level, they are taking this variable in calculation. So this is something that it's recommendable. But because of the FIFA, I think that's human rights law, that you can't make differences between people just regarding this education, that it's not correlated with, that it's not connected with the job you are working. So you can't do it, but it's definitely a recommendation, and you definitely can see some correlation between education and making difficult decisions. Other question was, what do you do about getting difficult decisions, take it easier? So we do have sports psychologists talking to referees, and this is something I would say that it's really, really genetics. This is something that you get or don't get. Somebody can speak like this in front of the people, and we are using the same tools. So somebody can get here in front of the people and speak the first time he shows up. And other people need to do it 100 times and they will never be good. This is same with refereeing. But we offer the referees that 100 times to try to have that difficult situations. We even have trainings where there difficult situations are happening. FIFA is doing really, really, I would say, supra activity, more than normal. So, for example, we did have training in FIFA in Lyon where you were running from one penalty area to another, and there were teams making 2 or 3 penalties in the same situations, holding, pushing, and everything. So they are trying to make it difficult. So your mind is ready for those situations inside of one game. But in lower leagues and in country with not that big, I would say, referee development and investing in referees, it can be easily done by number of games and with more situations, because in Croatia we have more games, less mistakes. So if you have more games in percentage per game, you have less mistakes. That's continuity of refereeing. And you know, it's very, very important you feel strong, self-confident if you have several games in a row than if you have, I don't know, one game, then 2 weeks off and similar. And we go back regarding your refereeing career, I'm not going to take a comment, but I can imagine, because I had international matches with Turkish teams, and I would say it's the most difficult matches to referee. And I like your temperament very much, but it's really difficult to referee. And the last one, the horses. In every culture, I think horses are really, really positive and good animal and noble animals. And that's why I feel really good to have connection. They called me so many times with that animal, that now I find that it's really noble. So refereeing can be noble.
Yeah.
And I know how difficult it is to compare, to get in one, for you loving horses and refereeing, because I know how Turkish people are temperament about.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Selçuk, for great question. Jovan Gardashevich also have a question.
Yes, hello, Professor Gabrilo. I have one question for you. I am interested in VAR system. We know that VAR system is very expensive, that many countries in Europe, the clubs have VAR system. Do you know how much does it cost, VAR system, for one club?
Okay, this is something that I know for federation. So for federation, yearly cost is about, it's difficult, but varying from 1 million euros to, I don't know, 4 or 5 million euros, depending on the wages of the referee and so on. In Croatia, FA, so implementing VAR system costed about 1.5 million euros. And
Yes.
80% was paid by UEFA or FIFA, but keeping it regularly, that costs even more than just implementing VAR system, because this system is not only technical part. There are people that are traveling of the trucks and everything, and this is really cost the TV rights and everything, broadcaster and so on and so on. So it is expensive, and I know how difficult it is for smaller countries to implement VAR system, and probably Croatia wouldn't be one of those if we didn't have so good result in World Cup and European Championships and so on, because lots of money coming from this in FA is implemented in refereeing, and me as a referee, I'm really proud with the development of refereeing in Croatia.
Yes,
Thank you, Jovan Gabrilo. We have one more question. It is Slavko Rogan.
Thank you. I have a question about the emotion of a referee. You show us a lot of data about physical performance level, injury level, but I think if I have a look of the behavior of the players, for example, Messi or Modric, etc., do you have education how to talk with these players? And yes, it's a question.
Thank you. Really interesting question. This is something that we as referees are trying to improve and to work on it, because emotion management for person in charge, for the referee, so coping with self-emotions and emotions of the players is one of the most important things in refereeing. This is something that we train in, I would say, higher level of refereeing. Unfortunately, still there are no researches, but this is the question really interesting for me, because this is something that I would love to investigate, and I'm trying to do in my future researches in refereeing, stress in refereeing during the football match. So this is something that is really important. I might say physiological part with decision making. Also, it's connected and correlated with aging. As you go older and more experienced, the physiological parameters of decision making, like heart pressure and heart rate, goes down with age, with difficult decision. Also, minutes inside of periods of the game also are getting higher as the halftime or end of the game approaches. So these physiological parameters show us that referees do cope with inner stress, and they show that during via physiological parameters such as heart rate. So the normal heart rate running with the speed 10 to 15 kilometers in referees average for 140, but making a decision goes even 180. So you can see that psychological part and stress part of the decision is really, really high in refereeing. This is something that we definitely need to improve. Yeah. Thank you for your question, and hope this answered it.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
thank you.
we have time for only one question. This is Pavel Malovic.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hi to everyone. This was a great presentation, and I'm glad that I had a chance to hear it. My question is, do you maybe have any information, or maybe you have done some kind of questionnaire or somebody else, what actually the football fans thinks about the VAR technology? I guess it's maybe after the match less arguing about the right or the wrong decisions of the referees, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's less passion inside of every match. That's my side of my point of view. What do you think about that? I'm just interested. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I didn't read any researches regarding that, but the question is really interesting, because this is something that is really debatable, and it's making bigger debates in every country. I know that people, before the VAR technology is only implemented in Croatia for last 5 or 6 rounds, because unfortunately we stopped. And I know they stopped talking about referees' decisions. They are now talking about VAR. They see it like technology, something new, but knowing, because I work as a VAR in other countries, and I can see where VAR is implemented longer time, the people accepted it more. This is just my personal opinion. I don't have data, but my personal opinion, as the VAR is using more, then acceptance of people and public fans is getting higher. This is, as I said, my personal opinion, because I work in leagues that are already having VAR for 2 or 3 seasons, and I started here in Croatia, so I can, by my personal opinion and experience, I would say these are the differences.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pavel. Selçuk, do you have any question?
Yeah, I mean, the last one, Professor Gabrilo. In fact, I would like to share my one of experience with the referees. In fact, till last year, I have been involved in the athletics tests of referees in Turkey, especially not for the Super League, the first division, but second and the third division. And I was testing the CODA test for the assistant referees. And for the CODA test, Goran, I mean, you cannot believe, even though we have been recording their referees' performance during this athletic test, some of the referees would like claiming that, no, they passed the line before the required time. You know, I was like, I don't know any, referees in this athletic test. Okay, nobody knows me, and I don't know anybody among these referees, but they are just claiming that, no, they passed the line. I said, come on, like, you are a referee. How you can tell me that I'm not fair, or like, just like come here and watch the video and see the time. If you have any, complaint about that, go and then complain to the leader, not to me. And, these are the referees that we have in Turkey. I just want to ask you, do you kind of like have similar experiences with the referees in your country like this?
Yes. This is something that I think happens all around the world, but this is something like working with children. If you let them do crazy thing, they will do crazy thing. And I think in lower leagues, that is in regional committees, they were developing refereeing not really good, and they were like looking like this and say, okay, this is okay, and they are used to that behavior. And we had that problem maybe 5 years ago, but when we started with scientific approach, with, as you said, video cameras, stopped. But maybe you are coming outside, you are a scientist, and you are watching this like an engineer, like line is a line. Maybe we did have like grace period and said, okay, this is it. This is not going to be test that we are going to rank you on it. So you're not going to be first, second. This is just to try. And in that, I would say a little bit softer way, we implemented the new test. But also, we told them immediately, you didn't touch. And when this is something that doesn't evaluate you, and they accept it much more easier. If this was a test where we said, okay, now you fail because you didn't touch a line, like you do it when you do scientific research, then the reactions are the same. So if you have a softer, so you need to have like a grace period with referees, because scientific approach tests are something that they are newly at. So I think this is something that happens all around the world, and they just need to get used to it.
Thank you, Professor Gabrilo. Thank you.
Okay, once again, I would express my positive opinion and to our speakers, and you were very interesting and stimulating for all of us. And thank you for discussion after your presentations. After a short break, we have a workshop at 1 p.m. and
Predrag,
yes?
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I would like to finish my video call. First of all, congratulating you. I loved your conference. I've been here last year, and you're keeping it really, really high. And for me, this video conference is really a big positive surprise. You've done it excellent, and congratulations. I am really, really proud to be a part of it. Other than that, I would just like to share one information. 23rd of, just a second, 23rd of September, we do have, this is the web page of our faculty. So you can see here you are really highly ranked. We are promoting you as much, but in September we have a big World Philosophy of Sport conference. So hopefully COVID will stop, and we will be able to see each other in person, and we invite you to come to this conference. It's held in beautiful city with beautiful sightseeing, still warm weather, so you can enjoy nature and see, and also hear some new experiences with philosophy of sports. So thank you.
Thank you. It will be in September, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
22nd to 25th of September in Split.
Okay. I'm looking forward to see you in Split. Okay, thanks, Goran.
Thank you.